Hello, everyone. I'm Heather Nielsen with My Divine Joy. I'm so glad that you're here today. And yet, I know that if you're here, it's because you are probably struggling and need a little help. So I hope today, as I share some tips and ways to get through a difficult time, that it will really make you feel some hope for the future. So, not too long ago, we lost someone that we really care about. And I just had this thought come to me multiple times. So I thought I would share it here. And so it centers around, I'm calling it the parable of the slinky. So I'm sure most of you, oops, that's not, there we go. Most of you probably played with a slinky before, let it bounce up and down and balance back and forth playing with it. You've probably even had a chance to let it go down some stairs, and usually it'll go down a couple and then it'll kind of fall and roll down the rest of the way. And that's kind of how life is, right? Like in life, we have ups and downs, right? Ups and downs like the slinky. We are trying to find balance between all the different things that we have to manage in our lives. And sometimes when we're walking through life, we take a tumble ourselves. And like slinkies, we also can feel like we are tangled up, or we can get just like sometimes we have an experience that just stretches us beyond our limits and we are just never the same again. So with slinkies, when that happens, something like this, you eventually just throw it away because it's just not fun anymore. But with life, we can handle things differently and we can be resilient. And so here are some tips that might help you, whether you're going through a difficult time right now, or you know that this is life and something's going to happen in the future, so you're preparing, or maybe you know someone that's having a hard time and you're like, how can I support them? So my first tip, oh, and I will just say that you should have been able to download this ebook. So you're welcome to take notes, but, and like the yo-yo thing or the slinky thing, sorry, is not in the ebook, but the tips I'm going through are in the ebook. So you don't have to take notes on these unless you want to. So the first one, and this is something that I teach all the time, is to be consistent with your spiritual practices. Now, when I go through a hard time, I feel like what I normally do is I go deep into my spiritual practices, and I'm really searching for the peace and comfort that comes from connecting with God and feeling his reassurance that everything's going to be okay. But one time I got really mad at God and I wanted nothing to do with him. I was so mad. Luckily, I have a family and we still had our family scripture study and our family prayers. And eventually, after several months, then I had that desire to return to my personal practices and not try to go through life without God. And so just be consistent, even if you could just open up your scriptures and read one verse, or even if you could just say a fleeting prayer. And even if your prayer is like, I'm mad at you, God, our Heavenly Father, can handle our feelings. He knows how we feel anyway, right? So us pushing him away, it's just on us. So that's my first step, is be consistent. I think that's important at any phase of life, whether you're going through a hard time or not, being consistent with your spiritual practices. The next one is the law of relativity. Now, this is different than Einstein's theory of relativity. It has to do with comparison. And so often we're taught not to compare. But in this situation, like the time that I was really mad at God, I was like, okay, I know what we're going through is really hard, but it's not as bad as this situation or that situation. And so it did help me to kind of put it in perspective. Even though I wasn't happy with how things were going, at least I was able to realize okay, things could be worse. And so that's a good attitude to have when you're going through a hard time, is recognizing okay, this could be worse. Where I'm at is not that bad. And being a little positive and even grateful, right? When I would compare my situation to others, I was really grateful. Okay, what I'm going through is hard, but I could see some good in it. It goes along with the next one, which is the hidden positive. And so looking for the hidden positive in a bad situation is a really, really good thing to do, because it helps us keep perspective. It helps us realize that something good could come out of this. So there's a law of polarity that goes along with this hidden positive. And it means if something is really, really bad, there is an opportunity for something really, really good to come out of it. And you can think of it as a pendulum, because if something is just a little bit good, it could just be if things are a little bit bad, it means it has the opportunity to be a little bit good. If something is drastically bad, it has the opportunity for something drastically good to come out of it. So looking for the hidden positive, and sometimes this really takes some searching, even some time to pass, that you can be a little reflective and figure out what that hidden positive is. But that's another really hopeful tip to get through a hard time. The next one is the law of rhythm. Now, life has ebbs and flows. It has ups and downs. And so if you are in a slump right now, going through a hard time, you can rest assured that it's not going to last forever. It will get better in time. And there's a great practice where you can project yourself into the future, think, okay, in 10 years, what's going to be going on? How old will I be? How old will my kids be? What do I want to do with my job? What do we want to be doing with my life? And so just kind of daydreaming and coming up with some fun things that could be happening in the future. And like some people hear this about the cycles of life, and they think, okay, if I'm in a good cycle, that means there's a bad cycle coming. Well, the great thing is, and look in the ebook, you can see a graph where things keep going upward. So even like a low up here is better than my high over here. And so just know that good things are coming, and life is just meant to get better and better. So those are all kind of like some mindset tips and like what you can think about. Here's something that you can physically do. This has to do with body language. Now, when someone is down, you know what it looks like. Their shoulders are slumped, their head is down, everything is like pulled in, contracted, and downward. So you can trick your brain to thinking more positive by improving your body language. So you can stand up. This is a great practice. Stand up, and I'm going to run out. You're not going to be able to see me on the screen to do this. So open up your arms wide, lift up your head. Now this opens your chest, it brings everything up. And then while you're up here, you can close your eyes and take some deep breaths and just imagine blessings, love, light, just all sorts of good things filling up your arms. And after you've held this pose, and you really do need to hold it for a little bit to really make it your brain, trick your brain into that positivity, then bring all that goodness and light that you're imagining and put it in your heart. Now, there is some science behind this. I just finished reading the book, The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor, and he has some quotes in there about how pretending, like putting on a fake smile or doing this body language I talk about, that can get your brain to start thinking more positively. So it works. It really does work. Okay, the next thing is another thing you can do, and that is repeating positive mantras. So if you pay attention to what you say to yourself every day, all day, a lot of it is negative. You can really catch yourself like, whoa, I beat myself up all the time. And when you're going through a bad time, people will be saying things like, I'll never get through this. I'll never recover. This is so hard. I should just give up. Like, why even try? So all these negative mantras that people just repeat over and over and over. And as you repeat something, and especially when you repeat it with emotion, it gets into your subconscious, and then your subconscious starts creating these negative outcomes. So we need to stop that, catch yourself. And here's one that you can repeat. You can make personalized ones, but this is just a great one for anyone. Again, put your hands on your heart, and you could say, I will be okay no matter what happens. My family will be okay no matter what happens. And you're going to have to say that a lot as you get through these hard times. It's just a great thing to say. And then the last one I think is actually possibly the hardest, and that's to reach out. Now, when I was feeling really down, I didn't want to reach out. I didn't call my best friend. I just really isolated myself. And it was to the point that my best friend contacted my husband because she was worried about me. And I'm so grateful that she did that, because she knew I was struggling. But this is what happens when people are struggling. Well, it can come from two ways. One, it can be a lot of stress. And you think, okay, I just need to work harder and I'm going to turn this around. And so by working harder, you're like focusing, you're working overtime, and you are cutting people out. You are not doing the chit chat at the water cooler, so to speak. So it can happen in work situations. It also happens just in normal social situations within families and within social groups and networks. And the thing that we need when we are struggling is other people. So if you see other people struggling, or you just know like someone's just had a loss or had something bad happen, please reach out to them. Be the help that they need. If you are struggling, it's hard. Like you don't want to, this is unnatural. But one great way when you are struggling and going through a hard time is to find a place to serve, whether it can be some sort of service project, a soup kitchen. There's volunteers opportunities all over the place. And so as you put yourself out there, one, it's reconnecting you with social ties, which is so, so important. And then when you're serving, like say in a soup kitchen, you're realizing like, okay, my life is not that bad. Okay, so I've had this hard thing happen to me, but I still have a home, or whatever your individual circumstances are. The service is a great way to do two things. It's that perspective and also helping and giving to others. So I hope those tips have been helpful. Please download the ebook. The next thing I would recommend is that you take a course from me. I offer group courses. And so below this video, you'll find where the next one is or when it's being offered. Now, it might be something that's happening really soon. I might be in the middle of a group course right now, and you'll have to wait a little bit. But no matter what, I hope that you will reach out. You can check out my website. I have some helpful tips there about more positivity and about mindset. And just know that things will get better. So I hope these helpful tips have also been hopeful and that you are feeling better about the future. Take care. Bye-bye.